Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Good afternoon, dear students. Today, in this particular lecture, in this particular video, I will be discussing with you various types of checks and then crossing of checks and then endorsement of checks. So, these are the topics that I will be going to discuss with you in this particular lecture. So, let us start. First of all, dear students, as we already know that bank is there, customer is there, and there is a unique relationship between banker and customer. And whenever the customer deposits the money in the bank, then the customer becomes creditor and the bank become the debtor. And it is the duty of the debtor to pay to the creditor. That is, it is the duty of the bank to pay to the customer or to pay to some other person, that is to whom the customer is asking the bank to pay. And what is check? Now, what is check? In order to facilitate the payment, in order to facilitate transfer of money, check is there. As per section 6 of the Negotiable Instrument Act 1881, check may be defined as, that is, a bill of exchange drawn on a specified banker and is expressed to be payable only on demand. So that is the definition of check as per section 6 of Negotiable Instrument Act 1881. Now, new definition of check. As per section 6A, check is a bill of exchange drawn on a specified banker payable on demand. Further, the expression includes the electronic image of a truncated check or a check in electronic form. So you see, I have already mentioned a number of times that digitalization, the introduction of IT in, you may say, in banking, that has really revolutionized the banking sector. And due to that a number of changes are there, and that is why the need was felt to change the definition of check, as now electronic image of a truncated check and check in electronic form are also being considered. So that should be kept in mind. And what is check? Check is a basic instrument only. It is basically a bill of exchange that is drawn on a specified banker payable on demand. So it should be kept in mind. And a checkbook is issued by the banker. A checkbook is issued by the bank to the customer, and the customer is free to use these checks. And this checkbook may be used by the customer. And when the checkbook has been used, then he or she may apply for a new checkbook. And again, in order to make various payments for facilitating the transfer of money, checks are very useful. Now, dear students, we will be studying what is the basic information that is required to be given on a check. I think being students of commerce, being student of accounting, you might have seen a check. Otherwise also it is very basic thing, and you might have gone through, you might have seen, say, life, you might have paid your college fee, your institute fee through check. It might have happened. So what is there? What is the basic information that is there, that is to be provided on a check, and that is already there? First thing is date. So date should be there. Then the drawee's name should be there. The person to whom the check is to be paid. Then amount is usually there. Amount is always there, rather. Amount is there. Amount in figures is there. Amount in words is there. And then account number is there. Account number of the drawer is there. Name and address of the branch is there. Then IFSC code of the bank is there, that is Indian Financial System Code of the bank, and it is very unique. Then MICR number is usually there, city code is there, bank code is there, bank branch code is there, and then generally on the right side bottom it is to be signed there only. So this information is basically there on a check. And now, dear students, I will be discussing with you what are the various types of checks. So let us start. So first is order check. Order check. So it is the check. It is the check in which the words or bearer are cancelled. So in that case, it will become an order check. So in case of an order check, the words or bearer, these are being cancelled. These are basically cancelled. And what it will signify, and what will happen when or bearer is cancelled. In that case, dear students, kindly note that this check will be paid. This amount will be paid. The specified sum of money will be paid to the person, to the payee, whose name is mentioned as pay in the check. So it should be kept in mind. And generally, in case of order check, it is not necessary, and bank will not be usually checking the bearer's identity before making the payment. So it should be kept in mind that the payment will be made to the individual whose name is mentioned, whose name is specified there in the check. So it should be kept in mind. And this was all for order check. Then bearer check. It is very risky type of check, as whosoever is having this check, he or she may get the payment from the bank. As bearer check basically allows the person bearing or carrying the check to the bank to receive the payment specified on the check. So that is why it is such types of checks are very risky, and these should be avoided. These checks basically have the words or bearer printed in front of the name of the payee. As I have already told you that it is not so in case of order check. And what is there, what is more is there, that amount that has been mentioned in the check, that has been mentioned there, it can be received either by the payee or by the bearer. So in case some bearer presents the check to the bank, so in that case it becomes the duty of the banker to pay the amount to the bearer. Then kindly note that these types of checks, bearer checks, are transferable, and in that case also, any person who is having this particular check, who is having this bearer check, he or she can also receive the payment, and there is no need to request the authorization of the issuer to make the payment in case of bearer check. That is why, dear students, I am telling you again and again that bearer check should be avoided. Generally, bearer check should be avoided at these, as these are very much risky. Then blank check. I think you might have studied, you might have seen the cases of blank check, particularly in some, you may say, movies also. You might have gone through, you might have seen some scene regarding that. Uh, Now, what is blank check? Blank check is the check in which the issuer, the drawer, sign the signatures of the drawers are there, but no other details are there. So that is why it is called blank, because it is really blank. Only signatures are there, only signatures of the drawer, only signature of the issuer are there, otherwise it is blank. Again, it is very risky, because in case you have signed the check and it is lost, and let us suppose it is the bearer check also, then in this case, in case somebody finds this check, and he or she may fill the amount and date, and get it issued, and get the payment from the bank. So it is also avoided, but blank checks are there. Now, cancelled checks. Basically, what is cancelled check? It is the same check. It is drawn from the checkbook only. But what is unique in this case, that you are making two parallel lines across the check, and you are writing cancelled in capital letters between the two parallel lines. Basically, what is the purpose of issuing cancelled check? These may be required, these may be needed by banks. As let us suppose, in order to verify your details, in order to verify various things like your account number, IFSC code, and various other things, banks may require these cancelled checks, or financial institutions may require, may ask you to provide these checks as a proof of your banking detail, as a proof to validate your banking details. And cancelled checks may also be required for know your customer requirements, EPF, that is Employees Provident Fund requirements. It may also be needed for ECS. It may also be needed for DMAT. It may also be needed for insurance policy. As each and everything relating to your bank account, relating to users' banking details will be available, and then ultimately, in case some amount is required to be transferred, so that would be transferred in that. Otherwise, also, in case you are asked to give the details, you may provide the details. But when you are asking for cancelled check, it denotes that everything is clear. Otherwise, while writing, while giving IFSC code or account number, some mistake may there. So, in order to avoid such cases, so generally these banks, generally financial institutions, they ask for cancelled checks, and it is very necessary to write word cancelled in capital letters along with two parallel lines across the check. Now, stale check. One thing you should keep in mind, that in India, as per the latest provisions, a check is valid for 3 months from the date of issue. Let us suppose a check is issued on 1st of January. Then, in that case, from that particular date, it will be valid for 3 months. In case it is presented within that time period, it will be valid. Otherwise, it will become a stale check. And what is a stale check? It becomes stale after its validity date is over. It is very necessary to note that in India, the time limit is 3 months. For 3 months, it will be valid, it will be counted from the date of issue, and after 3 months, it will become invalid. You will not be able to encash it. Then, mutilated check. The check that is not in perfect condition, it may be torn, it may be damaged, or something, some you may say, some water, some tea that may be there on the check. That means it is not in the perfect conditions. It may be torn at specified places, it may be damaged. In case everything is clear, you are able to see everything, then it may be passed. But in case the required information regarding the name, amount, signature, MISCR, that is not visible, in that case it may be rejected. But generally, what is there? The payment may be made only after the confirmation, only after getting the confirmation from the drawer, only after getting the confirmation from the issuer. So, in case he or she confirms, the party confirms, only in that case mutilated checks are basically allowed to be encashed. Now, gift check. I think you might have seen in various TV programs, in various other programs, that some gift checks are issued. They may be very big in size, very large in size. So these are basically given in order to gift a certain amount of money in the form of check, not in the normal size check, but some extra large, some large check. It may be very large also. It is given, and it may be given in a decorative form. And gift checks, you may get the gift checks from the bank, but you will have to make extra payment to the bank branch. So these are not used in normal cases. These are used in some tournament, some function, some shows, and some other contest. You might have seen these types of checks. Then travelers checks. You see what happens when you are moving from one place to another, And basically, when you are moving from one country to another country, let us suppose you are on a foreign trip. So in that case, traveler's checks are very useful. These are issued by the bank and it can be encashed by the pay at another bank in another country. So you will be getting the money. You will be depositing the money in India only, but and in case you have moved to USA, so you will be getting the amount in dollars in USA, or in other countries you will be getting the payment in the currency of that particular country. And one thing more I would like to mention, that a traveler's check doesn't have an expiry period. Now, banker's check. What is banker's check? It is issued by the banker itself. It is issued by the bank itself. And what is the unique thing in banker's check? That it is issued on behalf of an account holder to issue payment to another person in the same city. And these are also valid for 3 months. Otherwise, after 3 months, you will not be able to encash it, as it will become stale. But one thing that is unique in this case is that even after the validity period, they can be revalidated after fulfilling a few conditions. But it is not so in case of other checks. Then open check. The open check, as it is clear from its name only, that these checks are uncrossed checks. So these are uncrossed checks. It can be cashed at either of the banks, namely the payer's bank or pay's bank, and it is transferable by the pay, which means they can make someone others pay. So some other person may get the payment. So it should be kept in mind. And in case of uncrossed checks, the issuer of the open check should sign it on both the sides. He or she should sign in the front, and at the same time he or she should also be signing it on the back of the check. Now, crossed check. Now, crossed check. You see, you might have seen some check where you might have seen two parallel lines on the top left corner of the check, and in within these lines, account pay is generally written. Account pay. So, what is the fun of using? What is the fun of writing these words between two parallel lines on the top left corner of the check? You see, it will become secure, and now against this check, cash payment can't be made by the bank. The amount that has been mentioned on the check, it will only be transferred to the account number. No cash will be given, and it will be transferred to the account number of the individual. It will be transferred to the account number of the company whose name has been mentioned as the pay on the check. So it should be kept in mind. So such type of checks are very safe. Now, self check. What is a self check? In case you want money, self check may be used. You may write the word self as the pay. In that case, what will be there? Issuer will be you, and you will be using this to withdraw money from your own account. And a self check, it can be encashed only at the issuer's bank, that it can be encashed at your own bank. Then post dated check. Post dated check. So what is post dated check? A check on which some date has been mentioned, but that is the date which is later than the date in which it has been issued. Let us suppose today is 21st of December, and we are issuing a check for, you may say, 29th of December. So we are putting the date as 29th of December. So it will be a post dated check. And kindly note, dear students, that it can be encashed from the bank only after the date that has been specified by the payer. So it would not be presented to the bank before 29th of December in our example. So it should be kept in mind. And in case it is presented for payment, the banks are not duty bound to make the payment. So payment will not be made, payment can't be made before 29th of December. So it should be kept in mind. Now, the next topic that we are supposed to cover in this particular lecture, that is crossing of checks. I think by this time you might have understood that what is crossing of checks, as a few categories have already been discussed while discussing the types of checks. Now, what is crossing of checks? Actually, crossing means in case of check, I think you know that two parties, that main parties are drawer is there, drawee is there, payee is there. And in case of crossing of check, what will be there? The instruction will be made to the drawee, that is the paying bank. Drawer will be instructing the drawee, that is the paying bank, that the payment should not be made across the counter, but it should be made only through a bank. So for that crossing of check may be there, and it is a method of modifying the instrument to the banker for the payment of the check. And I have already told you that in case of such checks, payment will not be made through the counter, over the counter, it will only be made through the banker. So, who may cross? Now, who may cross the check? The crossing may be done by the drawer, it may be done by the crossing, may be done by the holder, or in some cases, it may also be done by the banker. Now, what are the objects of crossing? My dear student, I think it is clear to you that why crossing is there. It is to ensure that only the rightful holder, only the person who is legally entitled to receive the money, only he or she is getting the payment. So no misuse is there. No misuse is there. So that is the main object of crossing. It is basically to ensure that only rightful holder is getting the payment. But in case the check is crossed, it will not affect the transferability, it will not even affect the negotiability of the instrument. It will be still, it will be transferable, still it will be negotiable. So it should be kept in mind for the person who is getting it in the good faith and who is becoming the holder in due course. So as his rights were there in case of open check, his rights would be the same even in this case, and transferability and negotiability will not be affected. So it should be noted. No doubt it is a material alternation, but still, you should keep in mind that it will not affect the rights of the holder in any respect. It should be kept in mind. Now, what are the types of crossing of checks? Dear students, basically three types of crossing of checks is there. It may be general crossing, it may be special crossing, or it may be restrictive crossing. Now, what is there in general crossing? I think I have already discussed while discussing the types of checks a few of these categories. Now, what is there in case of general crossing? In case of general crossing, two transverse lines will be there. Two lines will be put on the face of the check, but no words are written generally. Or it may be without any words, or it may be with words and company, and or not negotiable may be written in between these two parallel lines. So it is known as general crossing, and in this case the paying banker shall pay the amount of the check only to the banker. So it should be kept in mind. It is the case of general crossing. Now, what is there in special crossing? In case of special crossing, what will be there? The name of banker will be there. It may be either with or without additional words. So, in case the name of the banker is there, then the check is said to be specially crossed. So, some banker like HDFC Bank, ICICI Bank, Axis Bank may be mentioned. Then, in that case, what will be there? The payment can only be obtained through the particular banker whose name appears between those two lines. So it is the unique thing in this case of special, in case of special crossing. Now, restrictive crossing. What is restrictive crossing and how it is different from the other types of crossing? In such a case, the words account pay or account pay only are added to the general or special crossing. So when account pay and account pay only, such words are added to general or special crossing, then it will be becoming restrictive crossing. And now what will be there? In such a case, the banker will be duty bound to collect the check on behalf of that pay only whose name is mentioned, whose name appears on the face of the check. And in case the banker collects this check from the endorsee, that means the person other than the pay, then in that case he can be held responsible in case the endorsee turns out to be a wrongful holder of the check. So it should be kept in mind. So in this case, the liability of the banker increases to a large extent. Note negotiable crossing. I would also like to mention that not negotiable crossing may also be there. What is there? Writing of words not negotiable. In addition to the two parallel lines, may be there. It may be inside or outside these lines. What will be the impact? That in case some person is taking the check that is crossed generally or specially, and not negotiable word is also written. In that case, uh, he shall not be capable of giving a better title to the check than that which the person from whom he took it. It is the unique thing in this case. So not negotiable, but it continues to be transferable as before. One thing you should keep in mind that so it is not negotiable, but it is transferable. There is no limitation regarding its transferable. It is still transferable. But what is unique once again, the holder in due course will be getting the same title as that of transferor. He will not be getting the better title. And in case it is found that title of the transferor is defective, then in that case the title of the transferee will also be considered to be defective. It will not be considered to be good. So it should be kept in mind. It is the unique feature of, these are the main features of not negotiable crossing. Now, dear students, let us move further. Let us discuss what is endorsement. What is endorsement? What is endorsement? It is very simple. It means when you are writing something on the instrument, on the face of the instrument, or when you are writing something on the back side of the instrument, or even when you are attaching some slip, or when you are attaching some paper for the purpose of negotiation of the instrument. In that case, it is known as endorsement, and it is allowed, you are free to endorse the instrument. And and the person who is signing on the face or on the back, I have already mentioned, he or she will be known as endorser. And the person in whose favor we have endorsed the instrument, he will be known as endorsee. Let us suppose Mr. A has put up his sign on the front or back of the instrument in order to endorse some instrument. Then, in that case, he will be known as endorser. And let us suppose he has endorsed the instrument in favor of Mr. B, then Mr. B will be known as endorsee. Now, dear students, various types of endorsements are there. We would be discussing these types of endorsements one by one. So, first of all, five categories are generally there as far as endorsement is concerned. First is endorsement in blank. I would be explaining one by one in detail. Endorsement in full, that is the second category. Partial endorsement, restrictive endorsement, and at the last we have conditional endorsement. Now let us discuss all of these endorsements one by one. Now, what is there in case of endorsement in blank? So when an instrument is endorsed and the endorser is putting his signature only without specifying the detail of the endorsee, then it is known as endorsement in blank. So it should be kept in mind that you are putting your signature as endorser, but you are not specifying the details about endorsee. So, but it is very risky. Again, it will make the instrument payable even to the bearer, even though originally it was payable to the order. So, it should be kept in mind. So, it was all regarding endorsement in blank. Now, endorsement in full. I think it is clear to you now. When the party endorsing the instrument, that is the endorser, puts his signature and he also puts the name of the endorsee to whom the instrument is being endorsed, then in that case it is known as endorsement in full. Partial endorsement, in case the endorsement is there, it is being done by the endorser in favor of endorsee, but when it renders to transfer only a part of the amount of the instrument, then it is known as partial endorsement. But it is not valid. Such an endorsement is invalid as per the section 56 of the act, so it should also be kept in mind. Now, restrictive endorsement. What is there in case of restrictive endorsement? Again, the endorsement is there. It is by the endorser in favor of the endorsee. Some instrument is there. But what is unique in restrictive endorsement, that the endorser is restricting or excluding the right of the endorsee to transfer it further. So that is the unique case in that. It will be restrictive when it is restricting the further negotiability, further transferability of the instruments. In that case, the holder of the instrument will be able to receive the amount on the instrument for a specific purpose only. So that is the unique feature of the restrictive endorsement. Now, conditional endorsement. I think you know it very well. What is the meaning of conditional? That means some condition is there, some stipulation is there. So, in case of conditional endorsement, some endorsement is being made by the endorser in favor of the endorsee. But while doing so, he is inserting in the endorsement, you may say, some condition that is being inserted by express words. A stipulation is being inserted that is negating or that is limiting his own liability to the holder, by making such a liability or the right of the endorsee to receive the amount due thereon upon the happening of a specified event, although such event may never happen. So this is unique. This is the main theme of the conditional endorsement. Now, what are the types of conditional endorsements? My dear students, kindly keep in mind that even conditional endorsement, that is of various types. So main categories are sans recourse endorsement, liability dependent upon a contingency, facultative endorsement, sans phrase endorsement. So these categories are there. So we will be discussing these one by one. What is there in case of sans recourse endorsement? In this case, what is there? That the holder of a bill, he or she may endorse it, but he or she will be endorsing it by excluding his own liability. And where what will be there in this case? In such a case, the holder doesn't incur any liability on the bill as an endorser. So that is the main point to be remembered in case of sans recourse endorsement. And as far as the liability dependent upon a contingency is concerned, what will be there? Here in this case, the liability will be dependent upon the happening of some specified event that may never happen. So in that case, what will be there? In that case, the liability of the holder as an endorser will arise only upon the happening of the event specified that may never happen. In case of facultative endorsement, what will be there? Here, the endorser by express words abandons some right or increases his liability under an instrument. So it is the main thing of facultative endorsement. And as far as the last type of conditional endorsement is concerned, that is sans phrase endorsement. What is unique in this case? That in such a case, The endorser doesn't want the endorsee or the subsequent holder to incur any expense on his account on the instrument. So such a type of endorsement is known as sans phrase endorsement. So, dear student, that was all from my side. As far as checks are concerned, categories of checks are there, crossing of check is there, endorsement of check is there. So, that was all from my side regarding these issues. Okay, then, thank you.